Jules, we have our final Champions League participants after the playoffs. I'm just going to run through them. I know you love the Champions League playoffs.
I do.
We have Young Boys Bern, Dinamo Zagreb, Slovan Bratislava, Red Star Belgrade, Sparta Prague, Lille, and Salzburg. Who we want to talk about? Who we want to name check here?
Well, I mean, Lille to start with, great for them to qualify, to be there. It's very rare for French club to go through the qualifiers and make it. They've made it. So it's four French clubs now for the first time ever in the Champions League. So well done to them. Young Boys, I don't think many would have given them a chance against Galatasaray with the second leg in Turkey, but they did it. And not just they beat them at home, but they also went away and beat them, which led to Muslera getting sent off for something so
I had
stupid.
dinner with the Young Boys CO last night and other people as well. So just name dropping famous people, you know.
Alan Virginius with the winning goal yesterday, a prodigy of French football when he was young, struggling a bit now to confirm it, but that was really good. So well done to them. Pep Linders and Salzburg. I mean, I know we're used to seeing them in the Champions League, but well done to him and his young team to qualify. So it's good. You've got the usual boys like Red Star Belgrade, for example, and you've got our Dinamo Zagreb, who are regularly there. But it's good for Lille. It's good for Sparta Prague as well to have made it. And so well done to everyone. They will be in the draw with you today.
Okay, you haven't name checked Slovan Bratislava. I will. From memory, are they the first Slovak team in the Champions League?
No, surely not. No,
they've been here before, but whatever.
Yeah, no, you had others before. But what's funny about Slovan Bratislava, not so funny, but obviously their captain is Vladimir Weiss, their coach is Vladimir Weiss, and obviously their former player, coach, star, president is also Vladimir Weiss, because all three generations of Weisses are called Vladimir. So well done to the Weiss family.
That is fantastic. That would be former Portsmouth star, Vladimir Weiss.
The Guardian reports that the PGMOL is low on funds, no more money left. And we'll ask for more money. Gab, are they spending too much on VAR?
No, look, the Premier League asked them to, VAR and then the different things. They take training. I think their budget is around $33 million a year. And when you consider that, you know, they don't just provide referees to the Premier League, they do it for the Football League as well. They get funding from the FA too. We all complain about referees. They're professionals. They need to be properly compensated. They need to be properly trained. Rules change, technology changes. This does not sound like a lot of money. And yeah, you need to pay what's fair. Now, it's not quite a free market situation because I don't know if there's like a PGMOL competitor with referees. So the Premier League can really argue. The Premier League has to, I think, pay the PGMOL what the PGMOL wants. And if they need more money, as long as you can account for it and say, we're going to use it, you know, in this and this way, and not just, you know, buy Howard Webb a new boat, then I think it's money well spent. Nordi Mukiele is back in the Bundesliga, joining Bayer Leverkusen from PSG on loan. Jules Xabi Alonso has a ton of depth this year. Is he going to make it count?
Yeah, he does. Every position, everywhere, really. They've recruited well. Some young players, some a bit more experienced. For Mukiele is going back to the Bundesliga that he knows really well. There's no option to buy. That doesn't mean that if he works out well, they're not going to like try to sign him on a permanent deal later at the end of the season. So I think this one works again for everybody. His wages off the books for PSG. He's going to get to play. He's happy to go back to Bundesliga for a top club as well. So well done, everyone involved in this one. Jeff Carlisle is reporting that Nottingham Forest want to sell Matt Turner rather than sending him out on loan. Gab, with hours left in the window, this is not good news for the US #1 goalkeeper.
No, but look, as far as Forest wanting to sell him, you know, I want to be able to bench press 400 pounds. I can't do it. I think it would just be stupid if they keep Turner as their number 3. It doesn't help Turner. It doesn't help Forest. I think a loan deal where he can actually play. And I think if you're Matt Turner, you know, you need to have a conversation with Pochettino now that he's in charge. But I'm sure Pochettino is telling him, Matt, just play. Whatever level you need to be at, just play. So any loan deal that you can put together, in the Forest case, there's a bit of shop window effect. Obviously, the window's open in Saudi Arabia, but I don't think he's going there. And MLS, it's open longer. So maybe he could come back to an MLS club. But is that good for Matt Turner? Is that what Pochettino thinks is good for Matt Turner? I don't know. There's a lot of decisions there to be made, but I think, if you're Forest, you should strongly consider a loan move if it's the right loan move.
I agree.
Sticking with the US, Tanner Testament has joined Lyon from Venezia for around 7 million euros. Jules, I'm a bit confused. You weren't here on Monday, which was a shame, but there was a report in the Keep where they said that Lyon had to sell a bunch of players to raise 70 million euros or something like that to avoid getting in trouble with the DNCG, the dreaded financial regulator. But instead they go and they spend more money. Was that like a report in the Keep wrong, or
No.
is there a 200 million offer from Saudi Arabia for Lacazette that only John Textor knows about?
No, it's not just that, Gab. It's that they had budgeted to sell well this summer. And when they went to see the DNCG in June, like every other professional club in France, in their kind of provision, if you want, for the summer, they had planned for big sales. So a Cherki, maybe Cacré, maybe Tolisso, those kind of guys, to go up to between 70 and 100 million euros. The fact is, they have struggled to sell massively. So they were always going to be allowed to buy, but they had to sell massively to balance the books, which they haven't done. So now they won't be in trouble right now, and they still can spend 7 million, by the way, not in one installment, in few installments on Testament. It's more that if they can't sell well, then John Textor, our dear friend, JT, will have to put, I guess, some money from his own pocket in it to make sure that the NCG don't go mad and don't prevent them from maybe recruiting in January or giving them a fine or deducting them points or something like that. So we will have to see. There's different things they can do to cover the money that they didn't make in sales in the summer, for example.
Maybe spending 35 million on Niakate was not a good idea with hindsight.
Not. And more Textor, Gab, the gift that keeps on giving. He's very angry about a report in Brazil. As you know, he owned Botafogo as well in Brazil. That report that he considers libelous, and he wrote a long post on his website, on his own website.
And his website, of course, is johntextor.com, which is an absolute hoot. In terms of website design, it looks like something, let's just put it this way. It's very retro, very vintage. Go check it out, johntextor.com. So basically, the gist of his thing is he's threatening to sue everybody. So I'm going to be very careful what I say. But essentially, a guy named Luca de Castro, who's an investigative journalist in Brazil, wrote what Textor considers a hit piece. Now, Textor's caused controversy because he's highlighted what he considers to be corruption. He cited betting patterns and stuff as evidence among referees. He's taken his case. The case was partly dismissed. He says De Castro has a whole bunch of inaccuracies in his reporting, and that's why he's going to sue him, and he's going to sue anybody who repeats the things that De Castro says about him. He says that De Castro just didn't reach out to him. He says that De Castro kind of just relied on crappy Google searches instead of reading actual documents and court filings and blah blah blah. Two things strike me here, okay, about this. And again, JT, please take this in the right spirit. First of all, what I really didn't like is he keeps referring to this guy De Castro, who, again, as I understand it, is a respected investigative journalist in Brazil. Doesn't mean he didn't get things wrong. I suppose courts will decide that. He keeps pointing out that the guy's a Flamengo fan. I absolutely hate that. This is something idiots on Twitter do, right? They say, "Oh, Jules, you hate Ten Hag because you're a City fan," or whatever nonsense, right? This guy's doing his job, right? He's not doing it because you bought Botafogo, and if you bought Flamengo, he would say, "Ooh, John Textor is lovely and smells great." It's just so childish. Go after the things that he wrote that you say are wrong and potentially defamatory, and leave it at that. You don't need to make it personal in this way. The other thing that strikes me, other than the fact that in his very long post, it's funny because at the beginning he calls him by his real name, De Castro. And then later on, it autocorrects to Mr. Castor, like as in castor oil, or I believe that's the word for beaver in French, if I'm not mistaken.
Castor, yeah.
Just thought was hilarious. I'm like, you have time to go and write this very long thing. Presumably nobody has edited. I don't even know if your lawyers looked at it, and you just post it on your website. I am so fascinated with this guy. I wish you would come on and talk to us. I discovered that he lives around the corner from me in West London, or at least has a property there. I read a piece in The Athletic about him where, he's really into his sneakers, and he was wearing two sneakers that were, one was a dark shade of blue, the other one was a light shade of blue, and there's some complicated story about why they were different sneakers. I don't know. I just don't understand it. Curious to see what happens with Palace and with Everton and with the DNCG. I think one of the more colorful gentlemen that we cover. But JT, look, whenever you want, Jules and I are here for you. We'll take you out to lunch first if you want. Aaron Ramsdale is on his way to Southampton for 25 million. Jules, with Carl Hein, now the Valladolid keeper. Carl Hein, who, by the way, I think is actually, I'd heard a lot of people told me he was good. Mark Ogden says, he's got to be rubbish, get rid. No, he's showing he's actually pretty good. So 20-odd caps for Estonia. Let's not make fun of him. But I wonder, who is David Raya's backup now? Is it 18-year-old Tommy Setford? Is it 18-year-old Alexi Rojas? Is there somebody else who I've forgotten?
No, you haven't forgotten anybody. It's interesting. I don't know. We will see if they ever need another goalkeeper, the number 2, play in the League Cup or the FA Cup or whatever.
Could Chesney come back? He's a free agent.
Chesney is retired now, so we won't see him again on the football pitch.
You sure?
Unless it's for charity. But no, I guess Tedford, who come from Ajax in the summer, I would think...
Sorry, Jules. He didn't come from Ajax. He came from young Ajax, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Like, he was not the Ajax goalkeeper. Just wanted to be clear on this.
No. Yeah. But his club was Ajax. So he came from Ajax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, these are very inexperienced backups to have. And I was just struck by this. And I'm wondering if they're planning a last-minute move, because Arteta talked so much about the ball-playing goalkeeper, how important it is, yada, yada, yada. Presumably, we think this is why Ramsdale's gone. And you've got 218. Maybe they're both really good on the ball. I don't know. I've never seen these guys play. You tell me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the goalkeeper is going to come. So they will have to do with the two that they have as backup. And then I guess we'll see. Sandro Tonali made his return for Newcastle in the League Cup on Wednesday night as they beat Nottingham Forest on penalties. Gab, he looked sharp and motivated.
Of course he did. It's just, he's been raring to go. He's been, he was suspended for what, like 10 months, 9 months, however long it was. Of course he's going to be sharp and motivated. He's had a lot of time to think about what he did. Of course, he was banned for his online gambling. And I think he's embarrassed by it. It cost him his place in the national team, cost him a season in Newcastle. I think the way Newcastle stood by him and the way the Newcastle fans stood by him, I think that made a really, really big deal to him, and it's pushing him forward. And, hopefully he can have a good season and get his career back on track. Kevin Danso joins Roma from Lens for a 25 million reported fee. Do you like this deal, Jules?
I really like Danso. I have to say, he's been excellent while he was in France for Lens. Austrian international, we saw him at the Euros. Really, really good guy, really strong defender, very physical, on marking, if you want, on the player. With the ball, he's not the best or the most elegant, but that's not what you get him anyway. So I like that. I think Roma needed a centre back, clearly, considering who they let go in the summer and who they still have right now in their squad. So I think this one, maybe 25 is a little bit expensive, but Lens are selling really well again this summer.
I just wonder if maybe, he isn't a little bit too similar in profile to Mancini, who they already have, in terms of the big physical, not exactly ball-playing defender. And it looks like Chris Smalling on the market now.
Yeah. FIFA has started the process to sell the rights of the Club World Cup, Gab. They talked exclusively to Apple before, but now they were only offering $1 billion, while FIFA thinks they're worth $4 billion.
Yeah, and they're going to sell the rights instead of selling the global rights, they're going to go individually from 1 billion to 4 billion. I believe that's a big gap. I believe that's 4 times as much, in fact. They've kind of promised this money to the clubs and to their own stakeholders, so they have to get this right. I don't imagine they'll get the 4 billion, but they need to come close. There's been so much negativity around this Club World Cup, people complaining about, too many games. Is there going to be real interest? The fact that it's in the US, they're like, oh, is it going to be like those meaningless friendlies? they're not really getting off on the right foot. I believe I'm right in thinking that, even though it's 10 months away, I'm not sure we have the venues or any semblance of a calendar or
Yeah,
draw
not
or
yet,
any kind of
no.
plan yet. And it's really important to sell this commercially locally. Um, I think they're going to have to do this in double quick time. And I wonder if they don't get anywhere near that 4 billion, are they going to think of saying, all right, let's reset and let's see if we can fit this in the calendar later, maybe another year, maybe 27, if they can. I don't know. Even though this time's been set aside. Nacional's Juan Izquierdo has tragically passed away, Jules. You'll recall he collapsed with an irregular heartbeat on August 22nd when Nacional faced Sao Paulo in the Copa Libertadores at Morumbi.
Yeah, really sad news, Gab, again. And it's unfortunately not the first time. And every time we repeat the same thing, that those checks on players, I know they're monitored a lot. They have all the medical staff around them in all those clubs, professional clubs, especially. But to make those checks even more accurate and even more precise, if you want, or in depth, so dramas like this don't happen anymore. You should not be.
I mean,
You should not die on a football pitch playing football. We had Nabil Bentaleb, the former Spurs player, who's now at Lille, who had a big alert during preseason. Thankfully for him, it was managed. He can't play right now, and they're monitoring his heart and everything. But the same could have happened to him. And unfortunately, as we said, this is not the first time. So really, 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 I hope that maybe clubs or federations, players, unions, I don't know, anything, step up maybe the effort to make sure that heart condition especially are even better monitored or better checked for players, so we don't have terrible news like this happening.
yeah, look, I mean, you have a medical background, you know this. There's always going to be risk factors. You can't reduce the risk to zero, but you can certainly mitigate the risk. Make sure that you've got defibs, you've got whatever you may need present to make sure that these awful situations happen as rarely as possible.
Yeah. Darwin Nunez has been hit with a five-match ban after his fight with Colombia fans at the Copa America. Remember what happened? He went to the stands. Does that sound right to you, Gab?
Okay, so to make sure that we don't make it seem as if Darwin Nunez is just a raging berserker who likes a fight. He didn't just go into stands because he wanted to fight. He went into the stands because he had family members there who were getting into it and were being insulted or harassed by Columbia supporters who were seated nearby. There wasn't proper segregation, whatever. But all that said, you cannot go in the stands if you're a professional footballer. You simply cannot do that because that is the kind of thing that really leads to a riot where more people get hurt. As a human being, I completely understand. And if I were Darwin Nunez, I might have done the exact same thing if my family was in the stands and I felt that they were in danger. Equally, I also understand why he needs to be punished. And
yeah, for sure.
5 matches, seems about right to me. But he'll miss. I'm guessing he'll miss a bunch of qualifier. It doesn't really matter because everybody qualifies to the next World Cup, and then you move on. And you send a message really that this cannot happen.